Welcome, everybody. Great to see you. Lovely to welcome people back and to welcome new people to the meeting as well. Great to see you all. I don't know about you guys, but it was a bit of an extended, quiet summer, wasn't it, in business? I've spoken to a few people and a few people have said the same, and I definitely noticed that. And I mean, I always anticipate there's going to be a little bit quieter in the summer, but I think it was quieter than usual. But my goodness, it's all bounced back, hasn't it? So it's really important to make the most of this time of year. And I thought I'd have a little think outside the box and think about some ways that we could maybe generate some more income, boost our revenue streams and all of that good stuff. And I came down to two things: partners and referrals. And you know, both of those are very much aligned with the ethos of Stronger Together. Partnerships, I mean, you could just look around this room that we're in now and look in the LinkedIn group and see so many other business owners that are actually potentially working with your ideal clients. So, you know, do connect with people, find ways of collaborating. It's a really good energy, isn't it, when we talk about collaborating? And I think it's so much easier to sort of say to somebody, oh, let's have a call, let's see how we can collaborate, rather than, you know, a more difficult conversation, which is, you know, how are things going? And do you know anybody that would like to has the problem that I can solve? So collaboration is a really good way to connect with people. And of course, we can all help each other. And that's what this group is all about. So do have a think about who else is in the room and do reach out to people. We're all here because we're like-minded business owners and we want to help each other. So do reach out and see how you can help each other. And the other way that we've just mentioned, the second way is referrals. And I hadn't realized until seeing the lovely Dave's profile that 84%, a whopping 84% of buying decisions start with referrals, which is a phenomenally high percentage, isn't it? And don't we all just feel great when we get a referral? Isn't it just the most wonderful feeling? And yet, how many of us actually go out there and seek them? How many of us, you know, have referrals as part of our business model? And I would sort of just throw it out there that some of us may, but a lot of us don't. And even if we do, then of course we can always learn and do things differently and maybe even better. Which is why I asked the fabulous Dave Plunkett to speak today. Dave is a great friend of Stronger Together, has been involved from the very start, and is well recognised and well known in this area as a thought leader, an expert. So I was very pleased that Dave was able to join us today to share how to harness the power of referrals. So Dave, without further ado, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia, and good morning, everyone. Lovely to be here. So yeah, what I want to do today is cover and do a nice interactive session, very practical. Hopefully there's going to be things that you can all take away and do. Are you ready to get involved and contribute? Not because, yes, get nodded heads all round. Right, brilliant. Now, so referrals. Probably the oldest, almost certainly the oldest form of marketing, before PPC, before email marketing, before even the written word. If you wanted to spread your message, and you had one thing you could do, and that's rely on word of mouth. And not much. It's something that we all inherently know, and I don't think much has changed. As Julia mentioned, the stats prove that a huge amount of decision making starts with a word of mouth introduction. It's not the only thing that impacts the buying decision, but more often than not, it starts it. And it just goes to prove that it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And then formalizing this stuff really has a huge impact. 86% more revenue growth. But what I just want to touch on is, often when we hear the word formalized, people often think about join my referral program, everyone gets an Amazon voucher. And it's not necessarily about that. It's about being more intentional with what you're doing so you're asking in the right way at the right time and for the right things. It's about being process driven behind the scenes, but still feeling completely natural to your audience so that it remains on brand. And that's some of the things that I want to cover with you today. Very quickly, for those of you that I haven't met before, a tiny little bit about me. Up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see Business Scene. That's a membership organisation that I ran, and we grew that to a couple of thousand members almost entirely through partnerships and referrals. I then ran a benefit business providing leads to some of those big brands you can see on there. And now, a Collaboration Junkie, I help business owners and brands just like you make word of mouth a scalable part of their business, either through building cultures of referrals or working on the systems around strategic referral partnerships. Referrals is what we're going to cover today, though. So this is from our customers, our clients, our network. And we're going to look at why, we're going to look at when to ask, we're going to look at what to ask for, and we're going to look at how we ask, and then there's going to be a little tip around how we do this on a repeat basis. What I'm looking to do is I'll share a little bit of knowledge my side and then get some feedback from you on each of those points as we go. Sound good? Awesome. Right, on with the show. Okay, first up, none of this is rocket science. If you're waiting to come and be amazed by brand new techniques, it's not going to happen. A lot of the stuff, you may even be one of those stuff where you go, oh, I know that one, I'm doing that already. Well, the purpose of today is to make sure that you do bloody well do it. Okay, so none of this is rocket science. So hopefully, as I said, you're all going to be able to go away and implement this stuff pretty effectively. So first up, show of hands. How many of you are getting referrals at the moment? Okay, so the majority, good. And how many of you are asking? Okay, so about, yeah, okay, much less. How many of you would say have a proper process behind it? Yeah, okay, that's kind of typically where the stats bear out. So for those of you that aren't asking, or maybe you were a little bit iffy on the asking part, off mic, let me know, why aren't you asking right now? What's stopping you asking more? Come on, you all said you'd be happy to be interactive. This is where it starts.
Feels icky and it feels rude. It actually properly feels like I'm being intrusive to clients and that I could damage a client relationship by asking them.
Okay, cool. I'm going to make a specific note on something you just said there. Anyone else?
That feels a bit desperate as well. It was like, oh, I haven't got enough work. Can you put me in touch with somebody, please?
Yeah, okay. Who was that, by the way? I missed that.
That's John. Hello.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay, brilliant. Yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, Dave, Justin. Yeah, similar kind of answers. It's what do you ask? Who do you ask? So we have some people like Julia, for example, work with Julia, where that conversation is a lot easier. But to go to a client and yeah, what would I ask them?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I would also say it depends on different offers. So I do two different things. One, I find really easy to ask for referrals, and the other I find really incredibly hard. It feels like it's a damage to existing relationships, whereas the other one, it doesn't. It feels very gentle, very natural. But there is a price point difference, which I think is one of the barriers. So that's one of the things. Yeah, interested to hear your thoughts.
Okay, awesome.
And then can I add one in there then, please? Yeah. Mine is some of the work I do is quite deeply personal, and I don't think people want to be letting other people know they've come to see me.
Yeah, okay. Karen, you had a hand kind of raised at one point, or has yours been mentioned?
Yeah, pretty much. So it's that challenge of helping them ask the right questions to get you that referral. I found it particularly difficult when I was a business coach. It's less difficult now. I do ops and process and systems. It's easier, but it is helping them ask the right questions when they're talking to people that they might want to refer.
Yeah, okie dokie, perfect. Kim, on your one about being personal, she's off. Not. I don't know if you can hear me. You can. Right. Okay. Let me just cover. So what I typically find, I'm going to come back, Kim. When I get to the how to ask bit, if I don't remember to cover your bit about personal things, remind me.
Okay, we'll do.
So well, but we've got 20 minutes between now and then, and something else. It may well go. It may well go. Right. Okay. So what I would say is typically these fall into one of two categories, and it's either process, which is when to ask, how to ask, what to ask for, or it's the behavioural piece, which Judy, yeah, you nailed it. It's the ick that we all feel, and a little bit of ick is a good thing. Remember, I said it's not about kind of, when I said formal isn't about pushy sales tactics, a little bit of ick of going, is this right? It's a healthy thing. But actually, for most of us, it gets in our way. What I would also say, some of you were mentioning about it feels right at some points, but not at others. Everything we're going to do today about building processes is about giving you the markers of when you should be doing this. An introduction is still a deeply personal thing. So it's still going to be up to your gut reaction in any given moment in time around, is this actually the right time to ask? However, there is also alongside that an element of, am I just getting in my own way though? And do I need to get over this ick? So throwing something out there again, when you make an introduction to someone else, so you make an introduction, and this could be in your personal life. You could recommend a great restaurant to someone, or a brilliant TV series, or even more so in business when you put two people together and you hear that has gone well. How does that make you feel?
Amazing. Really good.
It's a good feeling, right? Most people are nice.
Really elated.
Yeah. And so what I'm going to ask, and so I'm going to suggest that people love to give referrals. So this thing about being a burden or feeling desperate or damaging, actually people love to give referrals. And by asking in the right way for the right things, you're giving people an opportunity to do something that they actually enjoy doing. And potentially, rather than being damaging for a brand, it actually is a compliment. If you want to grow your business with great clients just like your existing ones, then asking them to be a part of growing that is the opposite of desperate. It's a compliment to them. And it can actually bring them closer to your brand, because when people do refer you, it's the ultimate sign of trust. So actually being comfortable and confident in asking for referrals is a great way of drawing your clients closer to your brand rather than pushing them away. And people absolutely do love to do it. You've just got to make it easy for them to do it. The burden part becomes when it becomes tricky to them. Anyone disputing that, or has anyone got any thoughts around that, or any questions they want to raise around this part? Because it kind of is fundamental that actually this is a thing that we should be doing and that we shouldn't be scared of it. I appreciate I'm not sure people's ickiness is in the last 3 minutes, but as a concept and a belief, are we all on board with this thing that generally not everyone will make introductions, some people just don't do it, but in general people like to help. Are we on board with this as a concept?
Karen and Kim had their hands up to say something.
My quick question is, I've been burned on a couple of occasions when I've had a really good experience with somebody and I've referred them, and then the referee has had a terrible time with that company, and it's made me slightly cautious, because you just go, oh God, because it actually damages my brand that I've referred them and they've not had a good experience.
It does. And I've had that happen to me a couple of times. I suppose it's a fact of life. Sometimes things don't go well, do they? And sometimes it's no one's fault. It's a mixture of things.
In those situations, I'd just like to add, sorry, Dave, generally you need to, I guess, condition your referral so that you're not exposing yourself on the basis where you say, these people have, whether it's helped you or worked with you, they say, we've worked together well, but everybody's different, and give them a try. Don't make it a super hot referral, make it a warm referral.
And I think it's, that positioning and how you position an introduction is key. And then, not everything works out all the time. People have to be expectant of that, I suppose. And if we are recommending other people, then we need to make sure that we're doing that in the right context. So sometimes I make introductions and it's literally, I don't know where this will go, but you two seem like great people who should talk. And in that instance, there's a very hands-off introduction around where this may go. Other times I will recommend someone as, I've worked with this person, they're amazing. Hopefully they should be right for you, go and find that out. So it is about how you position it. Absolutely. Thanks for that input there. But at its core, people want to do this. But getting our fingers burnt is never great. But more often than not, when you make an introduction, it should go well, right? And which should bring people closer into your brand. Kim, did you have something you wanted to add as well?
Oh, it was very similar, so that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we do need to be careful who we're introducing, of course, and then just position those intros in the right way, and then depending on how involved the introduction was, you need to make a judgment call about whether you'd refer that brand again or not, and that's your own judgment call, I suppose. And obviously, when we're referred, make sure that we're delivering A1 standard to those referrals more than, we should deliver A1 standard service to all clients and all prospects, of course, but I would argue referrals, it isn't just your reputation on the line, it's whoever's introduced you in as well. Okay, so something that doesn't fit in with the how, when, what's, but bearing in mind people love to give referrals, I did want to take literally just a few minutes on how we reward referrals, because I know there'll be at least 4 or 5 of you who'll be like, right, but do I pay, do I not? Okay, very, very a great area, how you reward referrals. If you're talking about partners, which are typically more commercial relationships with other businesses, then I would normally recommend that there is some kind of financial piece in play here, depending on the sectors. Some people can't do that. It just elevates the relationship. However, where you're talking about your customers, your clients, your network, they will refer you because they want to, because they know, like, trust you, and you've asked them in the right way. If you over push an incentive and it's positioned as an incentive, like, I'm going to give you this if you refer me, you can actually push people away. People who are intrinsically motivated to refer you because they want to, if you over push the incentive, you can actually make them feel icky, like, oh, this is sales now, I would have referred you anyway, I don't want this piece, right? There's a brilliant book called Drive by Dan Pink, which talks about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, and all sorts of studies around people that started getting paid for things that they used to love and adore, and then just stopped doing them because it turned it from this passion thing to a profit thing, which they weren't interested in. That said, we should absolutely be saying thank you as a bare minimum, and then we should, if people make introductions and they go well, then I'm a big believer in rewarding those. But for me, that reward should raise an unexpected smile. You want something to drop through the letterbox, maybe it's something else, whatever it may be, of the person that made that introduction, and then you want them to phone you up and go, hey Neil, oh my God, there was no need for you to do that, but thank you so much, it was really appreciated. Which means it's great if you've got a local brownie supplier, for example, that you send stuff out on, that's great, but if you did it every time, it doesn't quite work, because it doesn't raise the unexpected smile. People become accustomed to it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have incentives in place. That doesn't mean that you can't, like, but it's more around giving people more of what they want. So maybe if you're a coach or a consultant, maybe you can give them an extra session, or you can do something slightly different with them. That sort of thing can work. If you've got a recurring revenue product, you can do a little bit more there. And also some people might be interested in an incentive. If someone is in a sales role or commission based, there's a good chance that actually they'd be interested in a conversation about how you reward them. But you can always do that after they've made one. I would do it post rather than pre. Any questions on this reward piece? I don't want to get too bogged down in it because we could spend the whole time talking about it typically, but any questions?
I guess as professionals, we need to disclose. Well, my professional bylaw standards require us to disclose all commissions received. So generally, I prefer not to have a kickback. So it's referrals based on a pure relationship basis, that we know they can do the work, not on I'm going to get a reward if I refer this client.
Yeah, I would suggest if money is the main reason why someone is referring you, then they're not going to be the best leads anyway, because they're just going to be interested in putting any customer your way to get their slice of the pie. They're not the customers you want. First and foremost, it should always be. And even in the partnership space, the commission piece, if available, is there to elevate the relationship. It should never be the main driver, because there's just going to be a mismatch in the customers and the values that they do there. If nothing else, I'm going to move on. Nice, brilliant. Okay, right. So you do need to make it easy for clients, and the first way to do that is around what we ask for. Okay, so number one is about being specific. Very quick. Sorry, I mentioned the membership organization I used to run. We would host 3 events a week, typically 50 to 80 people at each. So I was probably seeing a couple of hundred small business owners every week. And so as the event host, someone would come up to me and they'd be looking for introductions. And I'd say, who are you looking for an introduction to? And they'd say, oh, I can do business with any small business owner. Like, that was a useful thing for me. And because of that, I didn't see anyone. I just saw this fog of all the people that I knew. And then the moment they were more specific, so maybe it was marketing, looking for people in marketing. Actually, I'm looking for people who build websites. And I'm looking for people who build websites of this size. And at every single layer of detail, I filtered out the 80 people in that room to a smaller and smaller amount, or maybe someone actually who wasn't in the room, but I knew elsewhere. And people have we all get FOMO, right? I get FOMO in all sorts of walks of life. And people get it when they do referrals as well. It isn't about suddenly super niching your business, but it's about who are you looking for an introduction to right now. Because if you ask 10 people for a referral and you were broad about it, 9 would probably say they could. 4 might actually give you one, but you'd be lucky if any of them were who you really want to be speaking to. The minute you're more specific, you might get a whole bunch of no's, and only 4 might say they'd do it, and then 3 would, and all 3 would be the right people. So while the top of funnel numbers aren't as immediately gratifying with the dopamine hits, the actual end results really, really are. And so I encourage you to be as specific as possible. One easy way to do this is to think about what's the last brilliant, if you don't have a really tight niche in your business anyway, think about what the last great bit of work you did was. Really easy way, because then there's a real great context as for why you're looking for more introductions to those people. And if you really want to take this to the next level, the way to make it the easiest of all for people is to ask for a named introduction. Right? LinkedIn's a brilliant tool for this. I mean, admittedly, I know we don't all know everyone we're connected to, but with a little bit of homework, you can see if someone really is connected and ask them specifically, hey, Angela, I see that you're connected to Helen. I would love an introduction if that's okay, because in that instance, very, very rarely is Angela saying no to me, right? If she does actually know Helen, because you've made it so easy for someone to do something nice. And so and so kind of having this really targeted approach can work. Any thoughts, any questions, any Any feedback on this name stuff around being specific? Who struggles with the being specific? There are some instances where you can just connect two people together because you know it's right and you know the relationship is right. If you don't feel able to do that, and I get this all the time because kind of referrals are almost expected of me to make introductions, and I make lots of introductions. The early in relationship one is one I get all the time. I spot a connection. I'm like, it's a bit early in my own journey with them at the moment, but come back. If I haven't made it by this point, come back to me. And I put the onus back on them, back on the person that wants the introduction. Get back in touch with me in a couple of months' time when I'm a bit more embedded in the client and I'll know whether it's right or not, and I'll be in a position to do it. So absolutely, it's fine to bat that away, but make sure you make sure the ball is left in their court so that there's not an expectation on you. Most people won't come back because they forget and they don't mark these things down. In terms of the not being comfortable making an introduction, which again, I get and wanting to be polite. Honesty is the best policy, but you can level your honesty, right? What I mean by that is saying, I know the other person's really swamped. I can't make the introduction without having a word with them first. So what I'll do is I promise I'll mention it. And if they're interested in the introduction, then I'll hook you up. Is that okay? And anyone who's going to feel aggrieved at that level of positioning has just reinforced the fact that you don't want to be introducing them anyway, right? If people take offense by that, then they're not people that I want in my close network, to be honest with you.
Here's another piece.
And in terms of how that works the other way. Oh, sorry, yes, go.
Yeah. I was just going to say that it also depends on the degree of relationship. How well do I know somebody, right? So for example, on LinkedIn, get loads of requests, can you introduce me to so-and-so? If it's somebody I don't know very well, then I kind of just do a LinkedIn message and leave it at that. But if it's someone who's on my phone book and I've known them for many years and all the rest of it, I'm going to have different levels of, say, guardedness to protect the relationship, right? So where I've got really close trusted relationships, so somebody wanted Julia, right? I'd be looking at and saying, I know Julia for 30 years, therefore I'm going to make sure that if I do talk to her, it's someone who's really, really worthwhile for that conversation to happen, both sides, not one way. Because I think when you're connecting people together, it's also about thinking, what are they asking for? What are they looking for? As well as who it is that you're connecting them to. So these are really important points when I look at how I judge whether to connect somebody or not.
Yeah, and you know what? And the second bit around that, around other people thinking that of you, Judy, we're going to come on to, if that's right, and how we asked it. So I'm going to come back to that a little bit because I think it touched what you said there as well, Marie. Okay, so that's Sarah. Yes.
I think as well, it's about understanding, knowing when the opportunity is right. It's like, it'd be like us cold calling that person and saying, just because it's a referral, yes, it gets you closer and you're using that person as the know, like, trust element, speeding up that part of the sales process. But so if someone comes to me and said, oh, I see you're connected with someone, can you give me an introduction? And I said, oh, why? What are you trying to get to? What you're trying to sell them? Why do you want the connection? They say, oh, well, I know that they, I want to sell them a website. And I might be, well, actually, I just know they've just got a new website. So sometimes it's about understanding the opportunity, and if that person that you're trying to connect with actually has the need that you're offering, and actually understanding enough about the person. If I didn't know that person enough to connect somebody, I don't know if they actually need your service, so I'd be more likely to share some content and maybe tag them in it or something. It's about understanding it, isn't it? Because it'd be like just me cold calling that person for that person. So it's about understanding the relationships, like what you're saying, isn't it? It isn't just straight lace, like give me an introduction. It's like, is there actually even an opportunity for them to need your service? Am I just going to end up being a cold call channel at speeding up your know, like, trust, all of that sort of stuff as well? But yeah, it's really conversation.
That's where you need an element of trust in the person that's that's asking for a referral, whereas us making referrals, yeah, because we're putting our reputations on the line, as you say. So you don't want to refer someone into a trusted connection of yours and then them act like an idiot and hard sell someone. That doesn't do us any favors, as you said. So thank you. Cheers. Yes, Julia.
Neil had wanted to say something as well.
Oh. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Just around, I mean, being specific, you said about whether there's difficulty with it, because I've got a niche, and I think Helen Parsons in the room. So garden designers, landscape contractors, and garden centres, nursery. It's great, but being specific almost makes me feel that I'm really limiting the audience that I'm talking to. Unless I'm in the room with other garden designers, landscapers, they clearly know other people. But I suppose if I'm in a room with others from other sectors, I find it quite difficult going, and that's who I want to speak to, because basically it shuts out possibly 95% of the contacts that these people have. So specifics great, but sometimes it can be really difficult, and I find it really difficult.
Yeah, and I can understand that, and that's the FOMO coming in, right? Of like, am I missing an opportunity here? But what are you actually missing an opportunity for, to talk to your non-ideal clients? Like how big an opportunity do you want to have? One conversation with an ideal client or 10 with none, right? And so there is that. I completely get it. I don't mean to be dismissive of that, because I get it too, to be honest with you. But it is around that targeting it down. And maybe a thing to think about there though is, are there partners I can be looking for introductions to? Are there other people outside of my direct clients where these people's networks are more likely to be stronger? So there are other people you partner, and then that maybe is a way of broadening it out. The other way of being specific, so the being specific in terms of names and types of business is great for getting immediate referrals. Like, is there someone right now that someone could introduce me to? However, if you want a bunch of people out there ready and waiting to kind of recommend you at various points, triggers and moments in time are really, really powerful. We've all heard of the power of storytelling in marketing and branding. These are like little mini stories that are really memorable for people that just sit there away in their subconscious waiting to pounce out. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of exercise time for you now. Moments in time. So for me, moments in time are your products and services. There are moments in time in your ideal client's life, whether that's their personal life or their business journey, where your product or service is the absolute easiest to sell, right? You're walking through an open sales door. Yeah, they just get it and they want to convert straight away. It might be a time in there, it might be a certain age they hit, it might be that they're moving offices, it might be that they've gone through a rebrand, it could be that they're building a new website, and. So just take a moment and think about some of those moments in time. If you already know what yours are, then feel free to shout and share. That would be awesome. Because I get nervous when there's silence. Come on, anyone want to share where they think their moments in time are? Or is anyone struggling with these? Go on, Julia.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of this before, actually, which is probably a little bit daft. But actually, when somebody takes on a new team member or the first member of staff, then a CRM is even more important than vital, because all the processes are in there, so you can encourage your new employee to go to do things in the way that you want them to do it. There's also transparency and the ability to work more efficiently with each other by having a CRM at that point, or even just before you take somebody on. But I hadn't really ever thought of that before, which is so thank you, Dave.
Well, these come in two streams as well. They come in the really positive ones, got you, Judy, really positive ones, like this is the proactive stuff. But then there's also the pain ones, like have they just had something horrendous go on because they've been working off multiple spreadsheets, right, Julia? And there's been they've lost a client, they've done a bit of, like, there's something's happened, so that, or that maybe they've had and for things like professional services particularly, it can be that they've had a really shit experience with their incumbent provider. That's often the moment in time when your thing's easy to sell. Yes, Julie.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I'm finding it quite hard to think of this. Maybe I'm being a bit slow this morning, and think of is the right trigger or moment in time. Can you give a bit more context and
Yes.
how we might kind of come up with that answer? I don't know if I'm the only one.
So the thing to do is think about previous conversations you've had with people who have turned into clients, and then go, when was those sales conversations the easiest? When did they convert quickly? They didn't need me to convince them. They just they got it. They already got what I did. There was I didn't have to prove my value because I was exactly what they were looking for. Oh, Sarah, bang on, gold star. But as a marketer, I would expect nothing less, Sarah. But yeah, Sarah's given a brilliant example in the chat of they need more sales or leads, and so I guess Sarah, one of your target market then is work business owner mums then, because they've got end of mum guilt for working too hard. So that's
so people normally come to me for two reasons. They need more sales or leads, more money, or they don't have enough time to do the things that they're doing within their business. Those are the only two reasons people work with me, for those, or that both, but either or. So the triggers are those types of things. So if someone says, oh, summer holidays, major mum guilt, I know they're not organised enough to be able to work and look after their kids, which is a key avatar of mine.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, John.
Yes, interesting, because I was sort of struggling to think what the moments in time would be. Then you mentioned exactly one of them that was going through my head, which is, so I run a social media marketing agency and training agency. And a key point for us is obviously when we work with quite a number of clients who've had a bad experience with their current agency. You're with an agency for a couple of years, it all starts to tail off a bit, results aren't so good, so you look for someone new. But there's absolutely no way of knowing when someone's at that point. So sort of knowing what that moment in time is different to knowing when that moment in time is.
Okay, so this is where triggers come in, and Sarah touched on this. And Karen, will come to you in just a second. The triggers are, if you've got those various moments in time down one side of your page, for example, what you want to have a think about is when your ideal client is going through that pain or is about to hit that opportunity, what are they actually saying? Because what they're not saying is what's written on your website, that they're looking for. No one walks around talking about the fact that they're looking for a truly proactive accountant who stays in touch and doesn't just do the books, right? What they will do is be at a networking event going, oh, bloody accountant, they only get in touch once a year when they want paying. And so it's, what are your audience actually, what are the physical words that people are saying when they're ready to use your service? And typically it's what they're complaining about, because people love to have a bit of a moan as Brits, don't we? So it's what are the words they're actually saying, because they're the triggers, they're the things, they're the little words or the statements that you want to say to people who are willing to introduce you. If you ever hear people saying this, then I would love an introduction, because. And so that's what the triggers are, is take those moments in time and go, what are my audience actually saying? And once you've written them down, say them out loud. And if it sounds like it's come from a marketing brochure, then start again. It needs to sound like something people would actually say in the real world, not what you wish they would say, what they might actually say. Karen, yes.
It's kind of similar to Sarah's, but mine are really they're business owners whose business is doing okay. Quite often they may have taken it over from their dad, bizarrely, seems to be my client niche. And it's going okay, but they've hit a brick wall and they're really ambitious to get to the next stage. They feel that their business can really flourish and grow, but they know that they know they need processes and systems in place, but they don't know how to do it. So they're frustrated at themselves, and they know that they need help.
Yeah, so a trigger there, they might be at an event going, oh, you know what, I work hard all the hours under the sun at the moment, things are going well, but I can't. And so it's, what are they, yeah, there's a pain point there that they're going to be out and about speaking about, aren't they? They're probably not going, I know I need this, but they will be saying the flip of that, won't they?
Well, so they're frustrated they can't grow because they've hit the wall of their own.
Yeah, I'm working all the hours and that, yeah. And so it's going, if you hear people talking about this, then that's what I want to do. So yeah, perfect. Awesome. Yes. Colleen.
Am I not? No, I'm not muted. I thought I was muted then for a second. For me, I guess it's the time that it's business owners and senior leadership team, because what I do is people and culture and leadership training. And what we're finding is obviously it's 5 generations working in the same business now. There's the DE&I. The world has changed hugely since COVID. Black Lives Matter, etc., etc., etc. Me Too movement, all the rest of it changed the dynamics massively. Now, we were terrible beforehand at giving leadership training. We promote people because they're good at what they do, but then we're not very good as a nation of training them how to look after people. So yeah, the point is, it's all out there. I know it's the right time, but I'm terrible at asking for referrals. I'm awful at putting my hand up. I always, and I don't know whether this is a female thing, a woman of my age or whatever, but I keep telling myself, oh yeah, that was a bit of luck. That's a bit of luck. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I just happened to fall upon that. My marketing, Sarah says, I've been looking at your business for quite some time now. My marketing is shocking. I don't know. This is really useful to me. I'm sitting here listening to you, thinking, wow.
I'm really glad to hear that. So women are typically, or those with female-led energy, because not all women have female energy, but female energy by far the best networkers. And if you can get the confidence to be asking for referrals, typically ask for referrals in the best way as well. So actually, if you can get over that hump of doing it, typically by far the best, because they do things in a much more empathetic way.
The frustrating thing is for me, Dave, is I'm constantly referring people.
Right, so law of reciprocity is a thing. I worked with a wonderful client, a guy who refers, and he presumed that means other people would do it back. And I said, no, P, it doesn't work like that. You have to ask. You have to kind of make it intentional. David's laughing because he knows who I'm talking about. You have to ask. You have to kind of be a bit more direct, because people are busy. And so unfortunately it's wonderful that you're doing it, because what you've done is you have built up a bank of social goodwill credit, which means when people, the only thing stopping people referring you more is you asking. And people will go, oh, of course I can. You should have asked before, Colleen.
Sorry, I don't mean to take up the stage, but the other thing is, everything that I've ever done has been pretty much referrals from people that I've worked with before, but that kind of dries up as well, doesn't it?
To an extent, but it depends on how specific you ask them, and as you broaden your network, remember there's more people you can ask. And you can also ask people, maybe, you know what, actually you've segued me nicely on, and I'm aware of time, so I'm gonna move on, but you have segued me nicely actually around, oh, why is my clicker stopped working? No, it hasn't. Right, so sharing this stuff, by the way, with your partners, it can feel like teaching people to suck eggs. It's not common sense, it's experience. We might think, oh, it's obvious that if someone heard that, surely they refer me. They won't, unless you point it out to them. So don't be afraid to share. Okay, when to ask, very quickly, so we can blitz through these last couple of points, because I want to make sure we finish on time. Those of you that are asking, or even if you just, those who imagine you were asking consistently, when would you typically be asking for referrals and introductions? Off mic, just a quick couple of shout outs around when you typically ask.
At the end of a project work, when they've been happy.
End of a project, yeah. Successful project, yeah.
I ask at the beginning.
Oh, sorry.
I ask at the beginning because normally the client's been referred to me anyway in the first place, So I chat to them, welcome them, have all the initial onboarding conversations, and then I ask them right at the beginning. So, would you, this is my referral scheme. This is how I work. I'd be delighted if you can refer me after you've finished working together.
Yeah, perfect. And just as a very quick side note, yeah, referred leads are the easiest people to ask for referrals from, because of it's how they've been introduced. So that should be that's where you get exponential growth coming through. Mandy, you came off mute. Was there something you wanted to add?
Oh, I popped it in the chat in the end.
Oh,
so
okay.
About getting a case study or testimonial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I chuckle because the amount of times have you come across net promoter scores? It's
yes, we've got
you to recommend. Yeah, so the amount of people I work with, and they do net promoter scores, but then they don't actually go back to the people that gave them a 9, 10 would definitely recommend, and ask for those, and actually ask them to introduce people. So essentially, the best time to ask, or one of the best times to ask, is whenever your customer is most delighted with you. A very quick, very quick story. I'm sure many of you here know Emma Humphreys from Genius Marketing. Emma did my branding, and the first time that I got the first draft back of the stuff was inside, and I remember just like getting goosebumps and just being, oh my god, this is so amazing, like so much more than I was expecting. A month later, when I got all the assets back because it had been finalized, not the same feeling. It was still great, but they delivered against my already heightened expectations. And so let me just move that along. And so what I would ask you to do is just have a think about your customer journey and go, where are the wow moments? Where are the points in time when I get amazing feedback from my clients that, and maybe even they're still at prospect stage, that I've delivered more, right? Because it could be before someone's even a client. You could be having a discovery call and they could be talking about, oh my god, where have you been all my life? This is just absolutely what I need. I haven't been able to find anything. At that point, they are ready and willing to recommend you to anyone else they know that's got that same problem. And they're in that kind of, almost the opposite of buyer's remorse. They're in that kind of really excited phase, just like Helen does. As part of that kind of her onboarding, she's mentioning the fact that that there's this opportunity there. For some people, it can be on onboarding. Some people it can be during. Sometimes it is at the end of a project, right? I'm not saying that's never the best time, but often we don't. It's not a one and done thing. You can ask someone more than once. And what this is about is just about mapping out the different touch points when you get really great feedback. And it won't be the same for every client you work with. This is about you being aware that there may be the right opportunity here, and then using your own judgment to go, yes, I'm going to ask now, or you know what, no, I'm going to wait to this other point a month down the line because I think that's going to be better. You can always seed referrals as well. So go, oh, if everything works out well, and then I'd love an introduction. So you can do that kind of, if you don't feel ready to outright ask. Sometimes, by the way, the real wow moment might be 3 months after you work with someone. Kim, I think you mentioned this on the call yesterday, or if it wasn't you, someone else did. So coaches, SEO, that type, anything where there's a lag effect. If you're not doing onward customer comms, you absolutely should be keeping in touch with people. I know not everyone does it, but particularly with these, kind of looking at making sure there's a touch point. If you know that people see brilliant effects 3 months down the line, well, make sure that you're getting in touch with them at those points. So, but yeah, don't be afraid of asking earlier in the journey. It's not up to us to decide when a client has had enough value to refer us. That is a client-led decision. We just need to be ready to take advantage of the opportunity. Any particular thoughts, questions on this? I'm aware of time, so if anyone's got anything burning, then please shout out, bring your hand up, or if not, I will move on to the how. Okay, how to ask. There is no magic formula, I'm afraid, other than it has to be natural to you. So many people I speak to, or I come across, they almost take a deep breath before they ask for a referral, right? They're having a normal conversation and they're like this. And it's like, well, that's one way to absolutely 100% sure make sure that it feels icky, right? It's like it should absolutely feel like asking a favor from a friend. Now, what natural means to any one of you around this room will be slightly different. And it will also be slightly different for different clients. Some of you might have more formal clients, you might have clients you get on really well with. But making sure it feels natural is the number one thing to do, because if it doesn't, it will feel jarring to the person you're asking, but you're less likely to do it because it doesn't feel normal. So I will often say things like, if when you're out and about, oh great, wonderful that you're getting brilliant results. If when you're out and about you hear other people saying this, then I would love an introduction, if that's okay. Obviously, in the first instance, it's always just a phone call just to see where I might be able to help, and hopefully I'll be able to offer them some value. And so that kind of just dropping it into a normal conversation is where it should really be. What I would say is, if you can do it in person or at least one-to-one like this, that's best. Over the phone is next, and then digital. If you do it in person, always back it up, I would say, with an email. If the person said, yeah, of course, drop them an email, because anything could happen between them saying yes to you and the time when they're actually going to get around to doing it. So drop them an email. Treat it like a sales lead. If someone said that they're going to make an introduction to you, put a note in the diary to get back in touch with them if they haven't done it. They will thank you for it because they've probably just forgotten. And also make sure that you're asking for an introduction. I would love an introduction, because how many of you, if someone said, oh, I've mentioned you to so-and-so, they'll be in touch, right? And then does that person end up hitting your inbox? They don't. Very rarely do they. So you want to make sure that you're asking for an actual introduction, because then you're in control of that, of the onward communications then. The context piece is important. So this comes back to what we were saying in the how to ask. So instead of just saying, I'd like an introduction to, give them some context as to why, and also what I call it the, what's going on there? Sorry, just my Mac's about to die. That's better. And I call it the gentle next step. So let them know, even if the person knows you well and they know you're not about to hard sell someone, remind them. Because if you don't remind them that, they won't remember to they won't mention it to the person they're saying, oh, I should introduce you to Julia. She's a CRM expert. But actually, that extra bit of, I'm sure she'd just jump on the phone and see if she could help you out first and foremost. That's the bit that someone goes, oh yeah, please do make the introduction. Rather than the shorter bit is almost like, oh, do I want to be sold to here? So just reminding the people that they're going to be making introductions to you that you're looking to an introduction to see if you can help someone rather than sell at them. Seems obvious, right? But there's this thing that people don't think to remember these things. So being really specific helps on that. Kim, your point around really personal service. You can ask and call it out all at the same time. I appreciate you might not be comfortable with this, but if you are and you hear people saying these types of things, then I'd love an introduction. Now, if you do it that way, you're going to get I don't think anyone's going to take offense by that, potentially. And some clients, you might just go, there's no way they're going to be comfortable, right? So then don't ask them. It's going to damage it. Make the internal connection of, is this, do I need to get over myself here, or is this really not right? But if you bring that up first and foremost, right up front, then you'll know one way or another. And if they're not comfortable, if they're a really big fan of yours, but they're not comfortable being out there with what they've done, then I would suggest think about other introductions that are useful for you, potential partners, referrals, that type of thing.
Yeah, you did say earlier on about something, and I did think, oh, yeah, okay, could probably do that. So some of the
around if they think about where their onward networks are. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Cool.
appreciate you coming back to me. Thank you.
No worries. Right. Very final thing from me. Communication is key if you want to get repeat referrals. Every time someone makes an introduction to you, they are not just giving you a lead. They are giving a little bit of their reputation to you to look after. And so treat it with the trust and respect that it deserves. Say thank you at point of referral. Keep them in the loop at key milestones. Oh, I've had that call with Julia. Went really well. We're going to touch base again in a month's time. Whatever it may be. Don't need to bombard them, but just let them know what's going on. Don't leave someone wondering what's going on with their reputation. Certainly not to the point where they're asking you. That's never a good sign. Then at close, lots of us will be good at saying thank you if it turns into business. Not so many of us will be great at saying thank you if it doesn't. But you should still say thank you to someone. They took the time to make the introduction. Saying thank you, again, even when it isn't successful, will mean they're more likely to refer you again. Subtly educating them as to why it didn't go through, didn't have budget, wrong sector, whatever it may be, means that you're more likely to get the right referral next time round. So thank you gets you more referrals, educating gets you the right ones. Okay, that's me. There's a little QR code there that you can scan that will take you to these slides, and where you can book a call with me if you want to, and connect on LinkedIn, all that wonderful stuff. Julie's has the link anyway. Sorry for whistle stopping at the end there. You're right, you were all up for being interactive, weren't you? So there we go. So Julia, sorry, I think I probably overran with what you wanted to do, but done.
It's all good. No, my God, amazing. We've got some really tangible things to take away. So thank you one and all for joining us. See you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you take care.